Many of us have greeted a sunrise at some point, hoping for a good year ahead. But what if there's a secret to that whole tradition we've all been missing? Today, we're going to explore a perspective that might just completely change how you see that first light forever. I mean, you can picture it, right? It's super early, it's probably freezing cold, and there are just crowds of people gathered, all looking out at the horizon. They're just filled with this amazing sense of hope, ready to make a wish for the new year as that first little sliver of sun appears. It's a really powerful, shared moment. But here's a wild thought. What if that entire tradition, that really heartfelt wish you make by the sea, is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how nature works? Yeah, I know it's a pretty bold claim, and we're going to unpack it right now. So let's just dive right in with the most common mistake. The way most of us have been greeting the sunrise, all wrong. Just think about it for a second. When you hear people making wishes at the sunrise, what are they usually for? It's almost always something personal, right? For the health of their family or for their own success. These are deeply human desires, for sure. But in this particular philosophy, that's precisely the problem. Wow, that sounds pretty harsh, doesn't it? The idea is that making these small, personal wishes in such a grand, epic setting is actually a brazen act. And instead of being granted, you might actually be reprimanded by nature because the scale just doesn't match up. So the crucial point here isn't that your wishes are wrong. Not at all. It's that the location is wrong. Prayers for your family's well-being are absolutely perfect and valid, but they belong in a place that matches their scale. Like from your own home, maybe on the balcony. And this brings us to the core principle of this entire idea. It's a simple but really profound rule about finding the right balance between our intentions and, well, our environment. It's actually called the law of great nature. And put simply, it just means big places are for big wishes and small places are for small wishes. So when you're standing before the sheer vastness of the ocean or on top of a mighty mountain, your intention needs to be just as vast and mighty to match. And this is really the key distinction. You have what are called small intentions. These are things that are about my family or my success. And then you have grand intentions, wishes for your community, your nation, or even all of humanity. To truly honor a grand place, you have to bring a grand intention. This whole idea builds into a pretty clear hierarchy. You start at home for all the personal stuff. For a bigger goal, something more ambitious, you might go to the base of a mountain, looking up in aspiration. But the summit? Oh, the summit is reserved for only the greatest, most selfless intentions. It's really a journey of humility. And that idea of humility, it's just so powerfully illustrated by this incredible story of a spiritual master and his mountain. 13 years. Just let that number sink in for a moment. What could possibly take 13 years? Well, that's how long a spiritual master who lived and trained on a mountain for 17 years waited before he felt he was even worthy of climbing to its summit. Even though this was his mountain, he didn't go to the top for 13 years. So why? His reason is just incredible. He said, "I could not look down from the top until I was big enough not to become arrogant." He believed that looking down from a high place too soon just breeds arrogance. So the climb to the summit isn't just a physical thing. It's a measure of your own inner growth. Okay, so we've talked about scale and location. Now let's kind of broaden that out to the different kinds of energy that nature offers us, specifically by comparing the mountains and the sea. You see, these two places serve very different purposes. You go to the mountains when you feel weak and you need strength, but you go to the sea when you feel lost and you need clarity. So the mountains offer raw power, but the sea offers wisdom. And this distinction is actually quantified in a really fascinating way. Nature's energy is presented as a 3-to-7 ratio. 30% is strength, that raw power you get from the mountains, but the other 70% is wisdom, or what they call operational energy. It's the knowledge of how to use that strength. And that comes from water. Wisdom is seen as the greater, more essential force here. So, after going through all of this, from the mistake at the beach to the wisdom of the sea, what's the big takeaway here? How do we actually put all this into practice? All right, so what does this all boil down to? First, your intention must match your location. That's the big one. Second, save the personal stuff, the small things, for a personal space, like your home. Third, when you go to those really grand, amazing places, you've got to bring an equally grand, selfless wish. And finally, always remember that true strength isn't about getting to the top, but having the humility to know when you're actually ready for the view. And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. The next time you find yourself in a place of just profound natural beauty, watching the sun come up over the horizon, what kind of intention will you bring? Are you going to think small, or are you going to dare to think big?